Hi, I'm Dutchess County Executive Sue Serino. Today, I had the incredible honor of sitting down with Edie Meeks, a Vietnam War nurse who served our nation with courage, compassion, and quiet strength. As we mark Vietnam Nurses Day, we want to take a moment to hear directly from someone whose service paved the way for generations of nurses to come. What inspired you to become a nurse, and how was it, during the Vietnam War?
My brother, who's 2 years younger than I am, was drafted, but instead of going into the Army, he joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And he was at Camp Pendleton, so I went for his graduation. And I thought, if something happens to him, I want somebody over there who wants to be there. So I figured, I would join the service. So I went home to Minnesota and enlisted in the Army.
What do you think you wish that people knew more about the nurses that served during the war? Because rarely do we talk about that.
One of the things about Vietnam nurses, when we came back, we just kind of melted into the woodwork, and I think it's because you couldn't talk about it, for one thing. When I came back, it was 1969, and that was at the height of the anti-war movement. And one of the things they told us was, as soon as you get off the plane, take your uniform off.
How horrible is that? That's right? Terrible.
And this was a surprise to me, because we'd been so busy working over there with these guys, and it was so personal, because all of these guys were my brothers.
Right.
I had two younger brothers that were of draftable age, and it was really difficult to come home and see all of these people ranting and raving, and actually at the wrong people.
When you think about our nurses today, what do you think about with them carrying on the legacy that you yourself and other nurses during wartime carried on?
The nurses today are actually warriors. They carry weapons when they're over in a war zone. We were not allowed to carry weapons. We could qualify on the M16 if we wanted to, but we didn't have to. And coming from Minnesota, where everybody hunted, I was used to guns. So I said, well, sure, because if somebody comes in the door, and the guys are flat on their back, somebody's going to have to take care of them. So I did qualify on the M16, but we didn't go through the same basic training that they do today. Today they really go through basic training. And yet they still go over and they still see the same. In fact, one of the things about nursing is that every war, it gets worse, because they can get the warriors to you a lot faster.
Okay.
I mean, we saw wounds in Vietnam that you never would have seen in World War II. They would have died. But they flew the Huey helicopters out there, picked them up, brought them in, and so it was kind of amazing.
So what do you think now, all these years later, about now the Vietnam veteran nurses are finally getting recognition?
They're not sure how many nurses served over there. When my friend Diane Evans decided to do the Women's Memorial, she called the Pentagon and said, could you get me the names of the women who served over there? I'd like to get in touch with them. And they said, no women served over there.
Oh my gosh.
They didn't keep track of us at all.
Oh.
And so a lot of us just came home, and because there were so few of us, there were like 8,000 to 10,000 for the whole war, they tend to scatter all over the United States, because that's where we came from. And so it wasn't like you could sit down and chat with somebody about it. You were totally isolated, and you couldn't explain it to anybody. I remember going to Butterfield Hospital and working there, and I went into a patient's room once, and the patient said, oh, Edie, I heard you served in Vietnam. What was it like? And I stopped, and I turned around, and I walked out. Because there's no sound bite to tell you what it was like.
Yeah.
It was so huge.
Yeah. Well, I know I personally can't thank you enough, and thank you for coming in today so we can.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
This is
no.
wonderful.
It's
good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Thank you, Edie, not just for sharing your story, but for your service, your courage, and your legacy. Vietnam nurses didn't just shape lives, they helped shape the future of nursing as we know it, and we are forever grateful.